When you think of the most haunted places in America, what comes to mind? Perhaps it's the catacombs of New Orleans or the Salem Witch Museum. But have you ever heard of Centralia, Pennsylvania? This town was literally burned to the ground by its own government. And today it still burns, all 800 acres of it. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're exploring the terrifying truth behind one of the scariest places in America, a town that's been burning for over half a century. So grab a shovel and a gas mask. We're heading underground. In 1962, Centralia was your typical small town. It had parks, supermarkets, and even an annual fireman's parade. But what it didn't have was much work. Like many mining towns, the jobs had dried up, leaving people desperate for a way out. But no one could have predicted the drastic measures the town's leaders would take to get them there. On February the 2nd, a local newspaper announced the town council's new plan: condemnation and demolition of the entire town. They planned to level every building in Centralia and turn it into a giant landfill. To do this, they would literally set the town on fire. Officials figured the cost of demolition would be about $1.2 million. But before anyone could stop them, they were already digging. On February, bulldozers began carving a trench around the town's perimeter. The plan called for 3 separate fires to be started at various points around the town, then let them all converge toward the center. This would hopefully minimize damage to nearby towns and ensure the wind would carry smoke away from homes instead of toward them. With everything prepared, all that was left to do was light the match. At 1:30 p.m. on February, 2 men started the first of 3 controlled fires. They used a blowtorch to cut through a gas line and ignite it. Then they repeated the process at 2 other locations. As they watched, the wind carried the flames away from the town, exactly as they had planned. So they stood back and waited for the town to burn itself out. Except it never did. For some reason, the fire refused to go out. Firefighters tried to stop it, but it spread faster than they could. The town's 1,000 residents had to be evacuated, and the town's entire contents turned to ash. Only the cemetery was left intact, along with a few buildings that somehow survived the blaze. As the smoke cleared, officials realized they had a disaster on their hands. The fire wasn't going out like they had planned, and whatever caused it to start was spreading it further. Within months, the fire had spread to neighboring towns, forcing more evacuations. All efforts to stop it failed, and soon enough scientists were brought in to see if they could find a solution. After drilling into the earth, they discovered the unthinkable. The fire was burning 60 feet below the surface, and whatever they used to extinguish it would have to stay there for centuries. The only option was to pump water into the ground to starve the fire of oxygen. Though this slowed its spread, it didn't put it out completely, and over time the pumping became less effective. To make matters worse, the town's landfill was starting to collapse. As the ground beneath it burned, the soil became unstable and the sides caved in. It looked like the entire town might be lost forever. That was until 1984, when the town's leaders finally conceded defeat. The town was too dangerous to live in, so they began pumping liquid nitrogen into the ground. This proved to be the key to putting out the fire. Today, the town is a shadow of its former self. Most of the land is unclaimed, though plans are underway to turn it into a park. The town's landfill has also been capped off and turned into a ski resort. But just because the town isn't burning anymore doesn't mean it's safe. To this day, parts of the town are still too dangerous to enter. There are sinkholes everywhere, some of them deep enough to swallow a house, and the entire town smells like sulfur. Plus, there are still dangerous levels of carbon monoxide in the air. Because of this, the town remains uninhabited to this day. Though the town is considered safe to visit during the day, no one dares spend the night there, and for good reason. A local legend says that if you can hear the sound of a train whistle in the middle of the night, you won't live to see the morning. Because of this, most people avoid the town after dark. So is it really haunted or just cursed? Who knows? But one thing is certain, it's best not to find out. Thank you all for watching. Which part of this story scared you the most? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see more short videos, stay tuned for more updates.